New York City's Sherry Appleton at 7:30.
Before we begin today's show, here's an update. My first guest is Marla Maples, the young actress who was engaged to millionaire Donald Trump. Well, during the taping of this show, I asked Marla about her relationship with Donald, and she indicated that they were very, very much in love and that they still plan to get married. But the very next day, the media reported that Donald Trump had broken off his engagement to Marla. I wonder if she knew about that then. Well, today's show is about turning points, and it appears that Marla Maples' life took a surprise turn very soon after we talked. First, Marla Maples, the budding actress who had a much, much publicized affair with millionaire Donald Trump while he was still married to Ivana. Will Marla be the next Mrs. Trump? You're going to also meet distinguished actor Rod Steiger. Here he is in the movie In the Heat of the Night. And a beautiful actress who seems never to age, Angie Dickinson. Remember? Policewoman? And then, grab your hat. Grab your ears. Who's your favorite Mouseketeer? You're also going to see a specially taped message from the woman who was everybody's favorite Mouseketeer. Lord, did I want to be Annette Funicello when I grew up. And all of these stars are here to talk about the one thing that has happened in their lives that changed them. And you all think about that question in your own life for a moment. What turning point in your life really made the difference in the way you viewed life and the way things happen in your life? So celebrities here today are talking about that and this is the most important question, what they have learned as a result. Well, some of them are featured in a new book called Turning Point, Pivotal Moments in the Lives of America's Celebrities. So please welcome my first guest, Marla Maples. Hold hands, Marla. Well, Marla, listen, we all know what the turning point was for you. Was it not? Was it not meeting Donald?
Oh, dear. That's sort of the typical answer I think everyone would expect. But I think I hate to say, to me, there's not just one turning point. I think if we're really aware with what's going on in our life, there can be several turning points within a lifetime.
And for you?
For me, I would say one of the first major turning points besides, maybe a spiritual journey that we may be on was when my parents were divorced. That was a big turning point in my life, that suddenly I didn't have this warm, nurturing home to go back to, and I learned that I had to really take care of myself and learn how to be independent, and that And
you were 15?
I was just about to turn 16 years old, and I was graduating from high school, getting ready to go to college, and I came from a very loving, warm family, and very nurturing. And you look at life, and you can either take the dramas, the pains that come into your life, and choose to just go into this deep depression and never really grow out of it, or you can choose to make a positive change. And with me, I chose to really take control of my life and try and
When, at 16?
Oh, at 16. Well, my parents were my best friends, and they were always with me. And I grew up, with them and their friends. And I learned a lot at an early age, I think. And I went to college when I was 17. And at that point, it was just learning how to be independent, learning how to grow outside of the nest and take care of myself. And then again, of course, the next big turning point would probably be when my life stopped being my own. Suddenly, I was like swimming around in this huge glass fishbowl where every move I made.
How did you meet Donald Trump?
I met Donald. I moved to New York about 7 years ago this month, actually. And he was someone I'd met at different... I always loved to stay in, but if I ever went out, it seemed like we would sort of bump into each other. I knew of him, but I never knew him personally. Just someone I kept seeing throughout the years, till finally we said, why are we bumping into each other? And we just developed a friendship, and sadly enough, it was a time when he was in another situation, but more than anything, there was a real connection there, and I want to say a friendship. I mean, there was something there, even coming from different worlds, that made us connect at a deep level. And
did you start out to steal him from Ivana?
Oh my God, Oprah, no way. I mean, I grew up a Southern Baptist thing.
Donald Trump billionaire.
But that's probably the biggest perception.
That's why I'm asking you.
Having money does not make you happy, number one. I mean, it's inside here.
Yep.
And if you're looking for the great ship to come in that's going to bring you all your happiness in life, that's not it.
But you know what, Marla? And I have a few dollars, so I now...
She does.
Nothing like Donald, but listen, what I have, and that's absolutely the truth, but I think, and I say that too, I say the same thing you say.
Yeah.
I think, though, if you haven't really experienced having a lot of money, you don't believe it. Because you all think, I think most people think, what, you know, you're saying that if you could just pay your bills, if you just get that mortgage paid off and all that, that life would be just fine. Yeah. It won't, but I think most people don't believe that just because you have money, you're not going to be happy.
I think the most important thing is to find the happiness within yourself, and then you can have a greater appreciation.
So this is the point I was going to make. So now that you've been with Donald for a while, you now know that money doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah, and even
but
with
did you know that before? Because when you first meet a billionaire and he is attracted to you, and you're very pretty, very pretty, and
not the prettiest,
but very pretty, and I just. When you first meet somebody who's a billionaire, I just wonder, don't you think, my God, the things we can do, the places we can go.
Not at all.
The things I can own.
I've never seen life as having limits. My parents taught me that you can always, if you truly believe in yourself and you have a strong faith, you can achieve anything. And in meeting Donald, I mean, he was another man. I mean, you meet lots of rich people in your life. You meet lots of poor people. You walk down the streets of New York, you're faced with every level of life.
Yeah, that's true, but most people don't meet a lot of rich people, though. Because you all know a lot of billionaires? Yeah, right. I don't either.
I know, but that was, you know, I grew up in a very small town, and there were a lot of people with money, and my family was like upper middle class when I was growing up.
So money never fazed you anyway?
It didn't. I was an only child, and my parents always were very giving to me, and I had really everything I would want for. Then I watched my father crash financially. He went bankrupt, and we lost our home. My parents divorced, and suddenly, at one point, my father was living in a trailer. So when I would go home to visit, we were in a trailer. But you know what? It's the relationship that you have with people that's going to get you through the ups and downs. And as you all know, Donald's gone through ups and downs. And
we've heard.
And, you know, and we probably will a million more times. We all do.
This is what I want to ask you, because obviously, I'm sure most people probably think that this question, if I say, how has being with Donald changed your life? Most people would probably assume that it means you can buy more dresses, more shoes, more whatever.
Shopping, number one.
Okay. So the question is, what has being in that relationship, and what real turning point did it cause in your life? I will let you answer it when I come back.
Thank you.
Okay. Because it's not about truth.
From her childhood in Dalton, Georgia, to the bright lights of New York City and the arms of Donald Trump, Marla's life has definitely taken a turn. She's going to tell us more about how she's weathering the storm of public scrutiny when we come back.
There's a doctor in this house who is a convicted child molester, but he's practicing medicine in Manhattan, and state health officials know all about it. Today at 5 on Eyewitness News, you'll be shocked when you hear how a gynecologist barred from practice in 2 states got a license to practice here. Plus, parental burnout. What leads to it? How do you avoid it? Dr. Lawrence Balter with a special report. And you see her every week on Full House, or do you? The Olsen twins and their double life. Today at 5 and at 6, right here on Channel 7.
What can the Ocean Spray Cranberry do that no other taste can do?
Bow, 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 hoodoo, hickabow, mow, mow, hoodoo, hickabow, sweetheart. Hickabow, mow, mow.
Ocean Spray Cran drinks. It's amazing what a little cran can do.
Bow, 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 hoodoo, hickabow, mow, mow.
What do you get when you cross an Ocean Spray Cranberry with a strawberry?
Bow, 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 hoodoo, hickabow, mow, mow. Sweetheart. Hoodoo, hickabow, mow.
Ocean Spray Cran drinks. It's amazing what a little cran can do for strawberries.
He's in a meeting right now. Sorry, he's all tied up. You just missed him.
If you can bluff, you can play the game Balderdash.
Trust me, every car on the lot is a beaut.
Balderdash. The hilarious game where you use all your bluffing skills to make people believe phony definitions for wacky words.
It's so...
Balderdash, the hilarious bluffing game.
You're just in time. If you hurry to Red Lobster, you can get one of our 3 new trios. Enjoy it.
Thanks.
Like our seafood trio, sweet snow crab, shrimp scampi, and broiled fish. It's just $9.99. It's so good. We've also got a big new shrimp trio and a new mixed grill. 3 trios you'll love for just $9.99. So hurry in for something great tonight at Red Lobster.
Well, tonight's the night.
Oh, so it's for real this time, huh?
Yes, I'm committed. I'm doing it.
But what about all those guys?
The best part. There aren't any.
Living Well Lady, physical fitness exclusively for women. At Living Well Lady Fitness Centers, there's quality and value in every workout program planned for you. Call us today and join for only $18 a month. These are the final 2 days of this great offer. And sorry, guys, this is just between us girls.
So, we're talking about turning points in the lives of celebrities, and we're going to be joined by Rod Steiger and Angie Dickinson. I'm talking to Marla Maples here, and I asked a question before we went to break. Y'all know Marla, about how the relationship with Donald Trump has really changed your life. And obviously everybody would think, are you shopping more? Do you buy more things?
Oh, things that I need, absolutely. I mean, that's an advantage, but I've always worked very hard to be able to take care of myself when I needed to, but I find that I don't have a lot of time left over at the end of the day.
And in the long run, the truth of the matter is you can only buy so many shoes, you know?
And you just, everybody has to take care of themselves, and you find that there's a lot of need in the world beyond pairs of shoes or whatever it may be. You know, you get what you need so that you can feel prepared for life. And yes, there's a lot more pressure.
When I started making money, I bought a lot of shoes.
It's hard.
But I've gotten over it now. I've gotten over that shoe thing.
What's hard is that being with him, suddenly I was being judged on every single level. I mean, it wasn't just what kind of shoes you wore, but it was like what length are her nails and how are they shaped, and can you believe how she combs her hair?
Not only that, Marla, let's just get real down to the nitty-gritty here. The real thing is you are still, in the eyes of most of America, you're the other woman.
You think so? See, I don't feel that now because I feel a lot of love from people, and I believe that eventually you only can live your life truthful to yourself.
I agree with that.
And eventually people will
But you're the other woman who won, and there's a whole lot of wives out there.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I mean, I feel like, to me, I feel like Ivana's moved on and has achieved happiness. She's doing things that she enjoys doing that maybe she was limited within the type of marriage that she had. It's very, of course, very high profile, so much pressure with all the good things you
now,
may
I
look
do
at.
believe
There's
this.
So much pressure.
I do believe this, that even in the, we were just saying this during the break, that even in the midst of whatever seems to be the most traumatic and the most painful and agonizing and so forth, everything happens to people for a reason, and that ultimately it's to make you a better person, don't you think?
Absolutely. We have to grow from these experiences, and with this situation, I never set out to do anything. I mean, we just loved each other, and the love was very pure, and once the media got involved in it, all the purity seemed to be taken away from it, and that put a lot of pressure on our relationship. It's just suddenly we started looking at ourselves differently, where we had this real goodness of soul inside. We had good intent. We can't ever predict how the turns life is going to take.
I think intention rules the world, so good intent means you'll win out in the end. Don't you think so?
I pray that. I mean, I pray for everybody's sake, and I feel like everyone's grown. You know, I'm so happy. I'm doing something that I originally set out to go to New York to do, and I'm finally working. I'm on Broadway. I have a job to go to every day, and that was a big, big dream of mine. And I feel like everyone is really moving through this. I mean, sadly enough, America has such a high divorce rate. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean we shouldn't work on our relationships and try and give more and try harder. And be more careful when we choose to get married.
So what has this relationship taught you?
Oh, how to center myself better, how to be stronger within.
When all those tabloid covers were labeling you the other woman and this, all those very nasty things that were said about you, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are or how much money you go home to at night. When people say nasty things about you, if you're any kind of person at all, it hurts.
It hurts so much. And me personally, I was the type of person that always tried to be the perfect little girl. I mean, I was always homecoming queen and class officer, and I was always excelling in every level. And I was always very well liked, and I was very active in my church and different groups. So suddenly, when you've lived your life a certain way, and because of one instance, because you love someone, you're judged as being everything but what you truly feel that you are, and maybe your friends and family see you as. And that's the danger. That's how powerful the media can be if not used properly. And if so many people are just out for that moment. And so rather than tuning into maybe what was really going on, no story is just black or white. There's
How's
an
the relationship
issue here.
now? How's the relationship?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I think if God meant for it to be easy, we wouldn't be here. But yeah, relationships I find can be very challenging. I have a very tough work schedule now, and of course he does too. And
In the
it's
Will Rogers
difficult
Follies,
in the
yeah.
Will Rogers
She's gonna leave here
Follies,
and go back.
which is a wonderful show. I'll be there in a few hours now. And a very happy group of people, and we really support each other and really love each other, and we try to entertain
So has
people.
the show,
The show is
interfered with your relationship with
Well, it's like
Donald Trump?
suddenly, it's like, honey, we have to take these bankers out tonight. And I'm like, sweetheart, you know that I have a job to do tonight. If they can make it at 11 or 6 o'clock, I'll be glad to do it. It's made me feel stronger as a person. It's made me feel more in control of my life. And sometimes we have dreams, and we have these dreams for so long, and they're like out there somewhere.
You think you're going to marry him?
And that's why my mother keeps saying, when are you doing it?
Now, you all know you wanted the answer to the question. Acted like I asked.
Oh, do you really care? Are you tired?
I really do. You really? Do you think that would have
It's funny. We've set a few dates, and we've planned to get married a few times now. But
You're not wearing it? Okay.
well, I have my band on. This is safer than walking around. We've set a few dates, and we've had different issues come up that we want to really work out.
Do you all
I'm
argue
very
a lot?
nervous.
Do you all
about
argue a lot? Because from time to... You're nervous about it. I didn't mean to interrupt
Well,
you.
I just want to I want to be so sure. I want this to be lifetime. And I've seen what my parents have gone through. I've seen what he's gone through and friends have gone through. And I just don't want to take it lightly. And I want to, maybe I should just go for it. But a part of me just wants to make sure that all these little insecurities that we have are worked out before we make that big commitment.
Okay, now I wanted to show you this. We have this clip from our show in 1988 where Donald and Ivana, she was here. Okay?
I know.
We're here together, and I asked Donald what happens when they fight, and this is what he said then.
We don't have tremendous fights. We should have world record-setting fights, but we really don't. We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
See, wait a minute.
Chauvinist.
Right, men? Is that right?
He's not a chauvinist, is he?
Oh, he's the worst.
Okay. First I said, what was wrong with my hair that day?
Did I stop mine in the morning?
Listen, I was having a real bad hair day that day. But, Ivana was on not too long ago, and she says, certainly, those were old days, and she doesn't allow anybody to control her. Do you find him to be controlling?
I think when you're in a relationship, either person can't really control. I'm very honest. I mean, he'll tell you, I definitely speak my mind on a lot of issues. And even though I love him, we don't always agree. And I have my own set of values and beliefs, and I try to keep that separate now, even though everyone wants to judge me by what he may say. He's a very strong person. He's a very loving person, which sometimes doesn't come through, especially you see an interview like this.
Because how are you going to see it?
You can't. You have to be in there. You have to be, some people have a hard time letting down. But there's certain people that they do for, and he's a very good, loving guy who tries his best, like as we all do, to do the right thing and just to make it in this life.
What's wonderful about a relationship, and I feel this in mine too, when somebody can bring a certain kind of, I don't know how you describe it, those of you who are in good relationships know this feeling, a kind of peace to you. Yeah. Do you think you've done that for him?
I hope so. There's certain things that I know I brought into the relationship that were unique to him, and of course vice versa. And we talk very much about spiritual issues that maybe in his life he was so caught up in building ahead. And growing and getting ahead and achieving a certain material worth and certain bit of, he's done, not many people have done what he has done and building and achieving such goals. So when you're on that path, it's sometimes very hard to look inward. And I was brought up more to look inward here first, more than creating out there, looking in here. So with that, he's taught me how to maybe project my feelings more and to project my ambitions more. But I've tried to help him look inward and find something more peaceful here. We're still on the journey. We're not home yet. We've still got a long way to go.
Aren't we all?
Oh, yeah.
When we come back, actor Rod Steiger's turning point. We'll be back to talk to him. Aren't we all?
Yeah.
A whole paper towel can be too much.
or too little. Now there's Selecticize, the Bounty you customize. Special smaller sheets. Only Bounty lets you pick out 1 sheet for small jobs, 2 sheets for regular jobs, 3 sheets for large jobs. And it's 50% longer than regular Bounty. Selecticize, the Bounty you customize.
Some quicker, thicker, bigger rubber.
Bounty Selecticize.
New Yoplait fat-free. Fruit in the bottom. Active yogurt cultures. Not 1 ounce of fat. That's why Mary Hamilton does it every day. Smooth, creamy Yoplait. Do it for you.
The worst is bad-tasting medicine.
Oh, the terrible taste.
Yeah, the taste. The best, for me, improved Triaminic. Wait, it's an excellent new taste.
She loves it.
Give us your worst, we'll give you our best. Improved Triaminic with all new kid-approved tastes.
He loves it.
I think I found a hand.
A killer is on the loose.
He's a crazy man. And to my certain knowledge, he has killed 8 girls.
She heard the voice.
He was standing right where you are. Kind of breathless like you.
But couldn't see the face.
You don't see nothing, do you?
He has the clues.
Why does he want to kill me?
Because he thinks you're a witness.
Not a lot of support for that scenario, though, is there?
No, not a lot.
But cannot prove the facts.
There is no serial killer. You stick her name up in neon and there is still no serial killer.
The closer they get to each other,
I love you.
She's a little young for you, bro.
the closer the danger gets to them.
He was here.
He's in the room with her. She's dead.
Andy Garcia, Uma Thurman, and John Malkovich.
Is anyone there?
Jennifer 8, rated R. Starts Friday, November 6th.
Okay, here's the story. There's this nice-looking, charming family man. He's even a Sunday school teacher. And one day, he just robs a bank.
My God, I've robbed a bank.
Then some more banks.
I was going absolutely berserk.
Then the banks get a little boring to him, and he takes his sawed-off shotgun to the bank manager's houses.
At the time, seemed like a good idea.
Then his wife finds out and turns him in. That's all I can tell you in 30 seconds, so watch tomorrow's Oprah. My next guest has had an acting career that can only be called a brilliant one. He's currently working on a movie called The Neighbor. Rod Steiger won an Academy Award for his role as the sheriff in The Heat of the Night with Sidney Poitier.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, you just killed yourself a white man, just about the most important white man we got around here, and picked yourself up a couple of $100.
I earned that money 10 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Colored can't earn that kind of money, boy. Hell, that's more than I make in a month. Now, where did you earn it?
Philadelphia.
Mississippi?
Pennsylvania.
Just what you do up there in little old Pennsylvania, earn that kind of money?
I'm a police officer.
Whoa. I haven't seen that in a while. Well, despite his success as an actor, Rod Steiger recently told a Senate committee that he, like 1 out of every 10 people, has had to battle the demons of severe depression for many years. Please welcome Rod Steiger. We're glad to have you. I would like you to, if you can, describe, because there are a lot of people watching saying, oh, yeah, I get a little depressed, too. Yeah.
That's because it's the daily use of the word depression. I'm talking about a clinical depression where you have a chemical imbalance in the brain, and you have to take medicine for the rest of your life if you like it or not. I'm talking about a clinical depression is much different. You could be depressed for a couple of weeks and things like that. But mine started, which was kind of a turning point in my life, not the one I really want to talk about, but when I had a bypass operation, they said, you know, be careful, you might get depressed. Well, I'm such a jackass, all you have to do is tell an actor something, suggest it, right? Well, I went into 4 years of depression. I had to do it, you know, the hard way. And why I talk about it now, and I come out of the closet about depression and talk to the Senate committee is for a very simple reason, that mental diseases and depressions and things like that can be helped, can be cured, right? And no human being should be condemned because they have pain in their life. Pain is the part of living, and I will not have another human being condemned because of pain by calling them, in quotation marks, insane. Oh, he's a little bit off. Oh, he's a little bit straight. Oh, he's a little bit screwy. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not insanity. It's a disease that can be treated and helped.
Now, tell me this. When did you first know it? Because I read that for years you would get up in the morning, you'd sit on the sofa, stare at the walls.
Well, what happened? It started, I had the bypass operation, and I can't minutely put it into detail, but what happened was all of a sudden I found out I was kind of spaced out. I'd look at things longer and not be thinking about anything. And gradually, I describe it as if you fell gradually into a bowl of greasy, yellow-colored jello. You down in it, and you're in the middle of inside you, and it's what happens, you open your mouth to scream, and this thing gets into your soul and into your heart and your spirit, and so nobody can hear you. Now, in the beginning, you kind of have self-pity. That's part of it, I'm sure. But after a while, this frozen fog that's taking your spirit and your heart and your soul away gets to some point you don't even have the self-esteem to have self-pity. You become like a thing. I'd come downstairs in the morning, I say to my beautiful wife, Paula, God bless her, good morning. I said, well, I wouldn't say it, I said, good morning. Then I sit on the couch and I look at the ocean. My next conversation 10 hours later was good night. No shaving, no washing, no talking, no movement, nothing. Barely allowing yourself the function of going to the bathroom.
Wait a minute. So what was she saying during this time?
Well, that's the second turning point of my life. I get emotional about this.
Yeah, it's okay.
This woman not only taught me how to love, but she went through 4.5 years of hell. And this is another thing. These people around you become a victim.
Right.
They get as hurt as badly as you do in another way. And the thing that she did was astound me, that she sustained me, that she stayed with me. I don't have her personality. See, I have the type after about the second month, I'd look at this person who's depressed and say, what the hell is wrong with you? How can you sit there like that? How can you not walk? How can you not shave? How can you smell like that, for God's sake? She never accused me.
She didn't?
That's a depth of love.
Yeah, that is.
That's a deep love. You're talking before I remember.
Yeah, that is for better or worse. That really is.
Well, also,
when you say those
I think you mentioned something about love. There is, I think, in a healthy love, which I think it does not exist without respect.
Right.
I don't think two people, I don't care how much money they have, how much money they don't have, if you don't have respect for each other, it's got to be a sick love then. Somebody's taking advantage of somebody. There came a comfort of being loved. You woke in the morning and you didn't have to play a game. Oh, I'm supposed to say good morning, darling. You know, all those little games we played. I had 4 marriages. Took me my last marriage to grow up. And that was a turning point, that this woman sustained me. Because I'd figured out how to kill myself and everything.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing how you're conditioned by society, right? I was more worried that my wife or my daughter, Anna, might see blood on the wall, blood on the flowers, blood on the cat. What a mess they would look at than my being dead. So I figured out, wonderful. I live by the beach. I get myself a rowboat. I go out in the rowboat and I lower myself over the side with my right hand, because I'm left-handed. I have the revolver pointing up to God's heaven, whatever that is, in my left hand. I put the gun in my mouth. I blow my brains out. The boat goes one way. I go the other way. I'm fish food. Good. There wasn't a mess. Well, this woman outwitted me.
We'll come back and find out. We'll come back and find out what saved you when we come back.
Okay.
Okay, Jane, he'll be ready at 8.
Thanks, Mom.
Most moms don't have a lot of time in the morning, but all it takes is a moment to let them know you love them. All it takes is a moment to make them instant Quaker oatmeal instead of cold cereal.
Here you go.
Thanks, Mom.
Whole grain, whole oat, hot nutrition, a moment of your time that makes a difference all morning. Instant Quaker oatmeal instead of cold cereal.
Thanks, Mom.
For moms who have a lot of love, but not a lot of time.
Natural goodness of Sargento shredded cheese makes any dish easy to prepare and impossible to resist. Sargento of Wisconsin.
With most diets, you're totally preoccupied with food. Planning, shopping, cooking. At Jenny Craig, it's all done for you. So you get to focus on learning the new habits that will help you manage your weight long term. In fact, halfway to your goal weight, you'll start practicing those habits by planning some of your own meals. You'll even get to enjoy some of your old favorites. Clients tell me losing weight's never been so delicious.
Lose all you want for $185. Jenny's Cuisine is a required additional purchase. Call Jenny Craig.
If you took away a star for every 1 million people who didn't vote, and a stripe for every 5 million non-voters, and a patch of blue for the 10 million people who didn't care, exactly what kind of flag are we waving?
I'm Greg Hurst. Today at 5 on Eyewitness News, the story of a convicted child molester who is licensed to practice medicine in New York State. We'll tell you how this could happen in a live report. And if you've noticed a change in gasoline prices lately, you're right. We'll tell you why. They're skyrocketing in our area. Also trying to soothe the savage commuter. You might not believe the latest way the Port Authority is trying to keep the peace. You can't see it, but you can hear it. Today on Eyewitness News at 5.
Steiger was just eloquently telling us about his years that he spent in depression. We'll be joined by Angie Dickinson a little later on. But I want to know what saved you then.
What saved me was, number one, when I met Paula and her ability to put up with the situation. And the other thing, from a medical point of view, was I was lucky enough to have some money that I could go what you have to go through when you're sick or with a depression, to find the right doctor and find the right pill that works for me. It won't work for you or work for anybody else, but it worked for me. So I was lucky I could go from one doctor to another so I could pay for it. I sit here today ashamed of myself because what the average person who wasn't as lucky as I am, I'm not talking emotionally, I'm talking financially, how do they go to work from 9 to 5? They don't have the money to go around looking for doctors. I don't know how they did it. I bow before them. I would have been a suicide. I haven't got the guts. I would have been if Paula wasn't around.
You also told me just during the break if you were 40 years old.
If I were 40 years old, yes. I must say if I was 40 years old and my career was hot, I probably would have said, well, I don't dare say a word. I'm not going to bring this up in public. It's bad. My business manager said, Jesus, keep your mouth shut. You may never work in this town again. They think you're insane. They're not going to... And my publicity people and my agents, Now, I believe at 67, if I don't say anything, what the hell am I doing on the planet? I should come out and say something. That's why I went in front of the Senate, And now things are changing. The public is becoming more aware that these things are diseases. They have nothing to do with insanity.
So was it Paula's love for you, her just hanging in there?
That kept me alive, and got me and helped me get out. Because I've had about 8 years. It's recurrent. That's another thing today in the paper. They have a new article. They now know that it's more chronic. You don't cure it short-termed anymore, so to speak. And it was 4 years, and a year and a half I felt good, and sure enough, one day it was back, and it was another. So it was 8 years. Crippled my career to a degree, But I figure now it's time to speak and say something. I've had a very good career. I hope I keep acting. But I wouldn't feel, at 67... I wouldn't be much of a man or a person if I didn't say something and try to stop people from having us stigmatized and being called insane and what have you. That's why I'm here talking today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Actress Angie Dickinson is blessed with talent. Remember the thriller movie Dressed to Kill? And she's renowned for these legs. She also seems to look forever young. And Angie says that her childhood was blemished by a father who drank too much. She was not especially close to her two sisters, Janet and Mary Lou. But 8 years ago, Mary Lou started behaving strangely. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and that became a turning point in Angie's life, too. Please welcome Angie Dickinson. Yes. 4 million people get Alzheimer's or have Alzheimer's in America right now that we know of.
Yes.
And
seems to be increasing.
Seems to be. And how was it a turning point in your life?
Well, it
It was a turning point more to have me realize how needed I was. I'm not sure I ever really felt needed before, other than just for the usual thing. Now I really was needed, and it's such a difficult disease because in the beginning it's such an erratic behavior. Well, when you don't know what's coming next, someone is needed to be there, to be the guardian for accidents, for emotional support, for getting lost, for helping you remove the confusion. That's the worst thing when I believe, until you've got it, you of course can't really know, but I think the confusion, what's happening to me, must be the most horrendous thing to hit anyone.
And what Rod was saying to us earlier is that his family also became victimized. And so is that what's happened in your family?
Well, yes, and I'm a bit like Rod. We've both been blessed that we've had jobs for a long time. I did my first movie with Rod in 1957. And it was a wonderful movie with James Mason and Inger Stevens, Cry Terror. And that was a turning point for me, Rod, because it was the first time I really saw that I had it.
Really?
And I was going to go, at least I was going to be able to stay in show business. What's my point?
Yeah, the point was, the point was how it affects the rest of the family.
Oh, of course, that's a big one. Forgive me. I had enough money to where I could keep extra help there and give up my secretary to be Mary Lou's caregiver at the beginning, because as they say in the beginning, you just don't know. The latter stages, at least it's disastrous, so you know what to expect. So for people who don't have the financial means, it's just awful. If it's just a husband and a wife and one of them is afflicted, the other one cannot be home and hold down a job. It's just horrible. And it's not like a baby where you can put a baby in a playpen or in a crib or even lock it in a room. You can't do that with an adult. It's just awful.
We were talking earlier, Marla and I were talking about how different stages in your life really show you what you're made of. Do you think experiencing this with your sister has made you a better person?
Oh, yeah, I hope so. I can use it. And I think it's unquestionably you're destined to be better and come through. It also may tear apart the family because it demands so much of each one. So perhaps you don't become a better person. I certainly think I did. And would like to show by example that you'll feel awfully good in the long run when you support somebody who's got a disease such as Rod's depression or, well, all the terrible diseases.
We'll be right back. We will be right back. Thank you. She was Disney's and America's favorite girl next door. When we come back, Annette Funicello's Turning Point.
I'm so appreciative, and especially to all of you out there for your cards and letters and prayers. That means a lot. That really does. Thank you all so much.
The leading cold tablet can take up to 20 minutes to start relieving congestion. Imagine waiting 20 minutes. Fortunately, you don't have to. Afrin gives complete relief in less than 5 minutes, 4 times faster than the leading cold tablet. And we'll prove it. Call 1-800-55-AFRIN, and we'll send you a sample of Afrin free. That's 1-800-55-AFRIN. But call now, because while Afrin gives you relief in less time, time on this offer is running out. Afrin, because you shouldn't have to wait to breathe.
Life before the Regina housekeeper was so simple, dirt and I could hide anywhere. Those days are gone now. I've never seen such a powerful vacuum. The Regina housekeeper can go anywhere I can go. That's it. Mom, it's either me or the Regina. I guess Mom doesn't like ultimatums.
Regina, powerful enough to clean up after Pigpen.
I can't tell you how thrilled I am
We
to
are.
tell you that my son, Jimmy Burns, invented...
And my son, Gary.
Invented the bagel crisp.
Real bagels, thin sliced, seasoned, baked
twice. My Jimmy's idea.
Because my Gary wanted that crunched-in flavor.
Look for the original bagel crisp at your supermarket deli.
The great big crunch.
In the little brown bag. Only from Burns and Ricker.
The bag was our idea.
Dunkin' Donuts is proud to announce we've created a monster. Introducing these hauntingly delicious minis for Halloween.
They're alive! Alive!
Minis are a fraction the size of our regular donuts, with a taste so great they'll attract very interesting guests to your Halloween parties.
More sprinkles!
They shut down this Brooklyn incinerator when tests showed it was pumping toxins into the air. But other city incinerators like it remain untested. We'll find out why, and you'll learn what city officials may fear. An exclusive report at 6 right here on Channel 7.
So today we're talking to celebrities about the turning points in their lives, the private battles that become public because of who they are. And one star who had a fairy tale childhood, at least we all thought so, recently revealed that she has multiple sclerosis. Annette Funicello, who unfortunately was not up to traveling to Chicago, kindly allowed our cameras into her home, and here's what Annette had to say.
Hi, Oprah. Hi, everyone. I wish I could be there with all of you, but hopefully one day soon, Oprah, I'll get to meet you in person. I'm sure looking forward to it. As I'm sure all of you have read by now, I have multiple sclerosis, and I'm trying very hard to make each day important. And it's amazing how very important just waking up in the morning and being healthy, how much it means to me. I was having a problem with my eyesight, and I was going to my ophthalmologist on a regular basis and saying, please strengthen my reading glasses because they're just not working anymore. He set up an appointment with a neurologist for me, and I had a test called an MRI, which is pretty conclusive when it comes to MS. And this was 5 years ago, and I really didn't feel any symptoms until just the last year. So it was a very gradual kind of process. I don't always have good days. Some days, depending on the temperature outside, depending on the stress that I've been under, it makes for bad days when my legs don't work as I would want them to. I have to rest in the afternoon. I just try to be thankful that I've woken up in the morning. It was very hard for me to go public with this because I didn't want to upset anybody. I think through the years, being at the Disney studio, being associated with Walt Disney and Disneyland, nothing wrong is supposed to happen to Annette. People have this image of me that I'm always happy, that I lead a Mary Poppins kind of a life. And you know something? I always did. So I didn't want to burst that bubble. I didn't want to worry anybody. What has happened to me was destined to happen. There's nothing that I could have done to prevent it. And I just think that through prayer, I've always been a very religious person, and I'm even more so now. That's helped me. My faith has helped me a great deal. There's a reason for this. And I hope everybody more or less feels the same. We're not being punished for anything that we've done. It's just a time in our lives where we all have to handle tragedy and unhappiness. And it's the way we go about it that's important.
Do you feel that too, Rod?
What's that?
Do you feel that this happened for a reason? That you're not being punished?
Oh, I don't feel I'm being punished because I think we're in a state of evolution. I don't even believe in death that much. I think this is part of the life. And like I was talking to Marla, I said, you know, if you can't educate yourself through the pain in your life, you're in a lot of trouble. So I think we have to look at afflictions in that way, from a healthy point of view, as a place of education instead of wallowing, you know, in our own pain. So I feel like, looked at from a proper point of view, it's a gift. Because now I have knowledge I'm trying to exchange with the rest of the world and my immediate family.
Terrific. Well, when we come back, he was a celebrated concert pianist, hated it, just hated it. An author tells why he left the stage to write when we come back. Turning Point.
There's a doctor in this house who is a convicted child molester, but he's practicing medicine in Manhattan, and state health officials know all about it. Today at 5 on Eyewitness News, you'll be shocked when you hear how a gynecologist barred from practice in 2 states got a license to practice here. Plus, parental burnout. What leads to it? How do you avoid it? Dr. Lawrence Balter with a special report. And you see her every week on Full House, or do you? The Olsen twins and their double life. Today at 5 and at 6, right here on Channel 7.
Has breakfast come to this? You want your kids to eat a nutritious cereal. They want something fun to eat. So give them Kellogg's Rice Krispies. It's fat-free. It's low in sugar. And best of all, kids love it. Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Sound nutrition without the showdown.
Now, all over the world, the sisters and mothers and best friends waiting to hear from you can hear from you for a lot less. Introducing the AT&T Special Country Plan. Save 15%. It's easy. There's no monthly fee. Just call right now and tell us your one special country and start saving to everyone in it every hour of every day. We'll always be there to make calling more affordable.
Another scandal. New criminal investigations. Suspected perjury. Serious allegations that Al D'Amato tried to obstruct a federal grand jury, coaching a witness to lie. New accusations of a cover-up. Growing suspicions D'Amato has steered lucrative government contracts to well-connected campaign contributors. It's the same old story. The same old Al. Doesn't New York deserve better? Isn't it time for a change?
Thank you, Annette, for doing that for us. Angie and I were just sharing during the break how that's so true in so many people's lives, especially, I think, if you lead a kind of glamorized life, the famous life, the celebrity life. People look at you and they think nothing bad is ever supposed to happen in your life. And when it does happen, it's almost like magnified for the whole world. Did you feel that, Angie?
Well, I just, when Annette said that, and I think maybe all of us do feel that way. Nothing wrong is supposed to happen with Annette. That's how I felt about, when my sister, but that isn't the way it's supposed to be. Our darling Bill Shoemaker is now in a wheelchair. That wasn't supposed to happen. So if anything, this kind of a book shows us that it can and it does. It not necessarily will, but it gives us strength, I think, to know that it just might.
Well, I always say the only difference between being famous and not is that more people know who you are. So the thing is, whatever happens in everybody else's life, whatever everybody else feels, is the same thing that people who are famous feels. And perhaps Glenn will agree with me. Glenn is my next guest. He makes his living interviewing celebrities. Glenn Plaskin's new book is called Turning Point. It compiles his interviews with over 100 stars, and Glenn says his own personal turning point came when he admitted to himself that being a concert pianist was making him sick. Literally. Really?
Well, you know, I was a very shy, little unathletic kid, and the piano became a refuge for me. I think as many things become refuge for children, and I think it's wrong to decide on a career when you're 15 or 16, and I would sit in those practice rooms all day long for 6 or 7 hours, and when I was 26, finally, I had it, and it was more emotional than that. I was very depressed. I felt isolated. I felt alone. And I had ulcerative colitis. I had tendinitis in my arms. It's a moment in your life, just as in the book, when everything seems to fall apart. And what I did is a friend of mine lent me $300, and he said, why don't you go to New York and find a job? And I did, and I had an idea to write a book. And I wrote a book about Vladimir Horowitz, the great concert pianist. And it came out, and ever since, I've been writing.
And that was your turning point?
Well, it was one of them, and another one of them, I think, was really doing this book. I've been so touched by listening to what everybody's saying today, and in the book, you know, there are people like Katharine Hepburn talking about losing Spencer Tracy, Dolly Parton considering suicide because of gynecological and depressive problems, Elizabeth Taylor talking about losing Rock Hudson and her last visit with him, Leona Helmsley talking about what it feels like to go to jail, Mia Farrow.
What did she say?
Let me out!
Hold the thought. We'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Lucille Roberts, the discounter. $18.95 a year, 2-year registration. Guaranteed lowest price or your money back. $18.95 a year, 2-year registration is guaranteed until Thursday, 9 p.m. Lucille Roberts' guaranteed lowest price gives you step classes. Aerobics lowest price, $18.95. Computer diet and exercise programs, unlimited visits, latest equipment, and more. Lowest price, $18.95. $18.95 a year, lowest price guaranteed or your money back. Lucille Roberts, the discounter. Nobody beats our price. Sale ends Thursday, 9 p.m. Grand opening, 14th Street and 5th. Steinway Street, Astoria, and Parkchester.
Our government is too big, and Bob Abrams will make it bigger. He'll increase spending 38%, raise taxes by over $4,500 per American worker, make seniors pay almost $25 more a month for Medicare, and wants higher taxes on business, Social Security, wine, tobacco, and beer. He'll tax anything that moves and some things that don't. But Bob Abrams has a strange record. He hasn't paid his own property taxes.
America's love affair with the automobile shifts into high gear starting now with the new GM MasterCard. Every time you use it, GM will credit 5% of your purchase toward a new car or truck from GM. 5%. That could mean hundreds, even thousands of dollars in savings over and above any other discounts or rebates. And there's no annual fee. The GM card, the new financial vehicle.
First came Bounty Medleys, now there's new Bounty Fun Prints. They're pretty fun. Pretty Bounty.
Pretty Bounty. It's the quicker, thicker, pick-you-upper. Look for special prints every season.
Pretty Bounty. Every season.
Pretty Bounty of mine.
New Bounty Fun Prints. Pretty Bounty of mine. The quicker, thicker, pick-you-upper. Bounty Fun Prints.
Glenn Plaskin's written this book called Turning Point, which is what we've been talking about today. Turning points in the lives of celebrities. Is it any different than anybody else's life?
No, I found that whether it's drug addiction or self-esteem or anything, the money and the fame don't help. The only thing that seems to help is liking yourself, loving yourself, and
or having somebody who really loves you, as Rod was saying.
That helps, and that spirituality that comes with love, that seems to help, but the money and the fame just doesn't do it.
You know what I thought was interesting when Rod, did you all catch this when Rod said he had so little self-esteem he didn't even have self-pity?
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, you go through that, you pass through that.
Yeah.
The early stages you do.
Yeah.
The other thing is that one of the reasons we all think that we're special, you know, like I said to you before, if death came here, he'd wipe out all of you and God was taking you away, but not me, because I have a special dealing with God. And when you find out you don't, and they're cutting your chest open, that's when you start to slide into a depressive thing sometime. There are no, I said before, pain has no favorites. It's got nothing to do with wealth, position, or anything.
Well, I think for a lot of people, and Marla's been through this, I think having yourself ragged, I mean, because most women, more so than men, I think, were raised to be nice girls and you want to please everybody. I think having your name defamed throughout the world is about one of the worst things that can happen to you. Don't you think, Lynn? Being a person who writes all the time.
She has gone through a lot of pain, and she has come out on the other side of it just as beautiful and probably 100 times wiser. And she was on the cover of, it was the tabloid story of
for a year
of the decade.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you go home and cry ever?
Oh, every day. It was very debilitating. I was just saying, oh, my pain is nothing compared to what you were going through. But Angie said, pain is pain, whether it's a headache or whether it's you're having a close to death experience. Pain is pain. And I had times where I couldn't literally move. I would be shaking in the corner, and I would want to go out and work or apply myself. And I just had to spend time alone and just really learn to deal with it.
We'll be right back. We will be right back.
Bill Clinton's economic plan, endorsed by over 600 economists, including 10 Nobel Prize winners, as the best hope for reviving the nation's economy. More than 400 of America's most respected business leaders say the Clinton plan will create jobs. A panel of independent experts convened by Time magazine concludes that Clinton's plan has the best solutions to our economic problems. And now even the author of Ross Perot's plan has endorsed Bill Clinton for president. Let's get our economy moving again.
I've had it with all those obvious lines, and I'm not falling for them anymore. I'm outsmarting them. With Almay Problem Solution Eye Protector. Its super-rich emollients help the skin around my eyes look smoother, firmer. It's fragrance-free, ophthalmologist tested, really helps solve the problem of fine, dry lines. Speaking of lines, the other day this guy said to me, you ought to be in commercials. Almay, why would I use anything else? And why would you?
They sacrificed the best years of their lives to make a more beautiful America. Now it's our turn to help. Join the Latino Gerontological Center. Call 212-517-1760.
AIDS does not discriminate. Willie Smith Day is a day of giving back to the community. Join us as we celebrate on Sunday, November 8th at Roseland. For tickets, 633-9023.
Join us for the next live along with the master illusionist Siegfried and Roy.
And those adorable little Olsen twins from Full House, online. Tomorrow at 9.
Right here on Channel 7.
We've been talking about turning point. Yes? Turning points in our lives, you wanted to say?
I really think that when people read about the pain of other people, it really does help them. It may sound like it's gloomy, but it really isn't. In the book, Turning Point, Jeannie White, the mother whose son, Ryan White, died of AIDS, you interview people all the time, and I'm sure you don't cry most of the time, but when a mother sits there and tells you what it's like to lose her son, and that he was trying to hang on for her, that kind of thing just wipes me out. And I think it gives everybody a sense of bravery, because we're all going to have pain.
Yeah.
Well, and may I say, when Glenn wrote my story, it was in a New York Daily News, I got incredible mail responding to the story of how I have had to take care of my sister through Glenn's article. People do respond to other people's trials.
Thank you for speaking out. Thank you, Mr. Steiger. Thank you very much. Thank you. Guests of our show fly our official carrier, American Airlines. American flies to over 270 destinations in 45 countries. American Airlines, something special in the air.
Coming up next on Eyewitness News, the shocking story of a convicted child molester licensed to